Hello, everyone. This is the Ronnie Republic podcast today, and I'm so excited I get to talk with Billy, the spa guy, and he is an Elvis Presley expert. And Billy, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
I am thrilled to be chatting with you, and I keep listening to your podcasts and your videos on YouTube. I'm so impressed with them. They're so interesting. How did you get started talking about Elvis?
I grew up, I was 12 years old when Elvis passed away in 1977. And just prior to that, a friend of mine, there was a neighbor, invited me to come to his house one day. His name was Troy Robinson. And so I went over to Troy's house after school one day from my memory. And when we got over there and got in his room, I noticed that he had a lot of records up against the wall in his room. And I had never seen anything like that before. As far as for a kid, my granddaddy was a big record collector, but he collected 78s and that kind of stuff. And here's someone my age that had a collection of records. And I said, well, what's that? And he said, well, those are my Elvis records. And he was an Elvis record collector. And that was, he was about my age. We were about 12. And that just intrigued me. And we started listening to Elvis songs and stuff. And he started telling me about the Aloha from Hawaii concert. And I actually bought a cassette tape from him of Aloha from Hawaii for $1.
Oh my God!
I took it home and started listening to it. And back then you had that little flat tape player that you stuck the cassette in and pushed it down. That was long and thin, the tape player.
Right.
And my granddaddy would give me those, and they had batteries, so I would listen to it in my bed. I'd lay my head on it at night and just listen to those concerts, and just fell in love with the music, and then started trying to understand who this Elvis person was, and I found out about the Memphis Mafia and these girlfriends, Linda and the wife Priscilla and Ginger, and started reading, and then not too long after that, he passed away. So after that, when he passed, every store you go in, you could go in a convenience store, you could go in the dollar store, and there would be magazines about Elvis stories everywhere. So I would buy those magazines and just read the stories and more or less romanticize, I guess, about the story and who this Memphis Mafia group was and who these people were and where these stories actually happened at. So, I had to use my imagination when I was reading the books about these stories. In later life, when I got older and, had a job and had money and the ability to travel, in 1988, I went to Graceland. And I couldn't believe I was standing there. And, I had dreamed about that for about 12 years, and 11, 12 years. And suddenly there I am at Graceland. I actually jumped the fence and took photographs and all that stuff and went in the barn in the back. And I have a story on YouTube that I show some of the photographs. They didn't turn out very good. What I did was went to a guy that I knew was a camera shop, and I told him that I wanted to take photos in the dark. How could I do that? He told me I needed 1600 speed film, and you need this camera. So I bought a 35 millimeter camera from him, bought the 1600 speed film, but he left out one small detail, and that is you need a tripod. You can't hold that camera and take pictures at 1600 speed. So my photos came out. You can see that they look like the back of Graceland and that kind of stuff, but they're real squiggly, as you can imagine, with the light.